This segment of the news is brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.
Welcome back. The Bahamas' decision to recognize Venezuela's opposition leader Juan Guaido as its interim president opens the door to serious questions, a position former Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell feels it should have never put itself in. Mr. Mitchell, in a release, reasoned that this goes against the Bahamas' stance not to interfere in the internal affairs of another country, as was the case when there was military dictatorships in Haiti. What the Bahamas should have done, he said, is abstain on the issue, as foreign policy should be undertaken in a careful manner, mindful of the implications of decisions being taken. Mr. Mitchell added that given the fact that the Bahamas now supports Venezuela's opposition leader, does this now mean that an opposition party in any other country that claims that it is legitimate government should garner this country's support as well? The Bahamas is not alone in its decision. Reports are that the United States, more than a dozen Latin American countries, Canada, and the UK have all backed Mr. Guaido. However, Russia believes such a move violates international law and was a direct path to bloodshed. China, Mexico, and Turkey also backed President Nicolas Maduro. Maduro has in turn cut diplomatic ties with the U.S. The opposition also not a supporter of the government's intention to enter into an agreement for the redevelopment and management of the Prince George Wharf. The Progressive Liberal Party's key spokesman on such issues, former Transport Minister Glenys Hannah Martin, says the government ought not to relinquish control of the country's premier cruise port to foreign investors.
The government is aware of the following. 1. Prince George Dock is the premier gateway by sea into our country. 2. Prince George Dock is one of the world's busiest cruise ports and a critical engine to our national economy. 3. The busiest cruise ports in the world are all publicly owned and operated and not placed in the hands of private and definitely not foreign hands.
Mrs. Hannah Martin instead suggests the government adopt the model of some neighboring countries.
The government should review the models of public ownership and management pursued by the other busy cruise ports worldwide and undertake the redevelopment of Prince George Dock under the auspices of the Bahamian people. It is not in the interest of the Bahamian people to transfer operational control of this infrastructure, vital to the economic well-being of the Bahamian people, to third parties, and under no circumstance to a foreign entity.
The government is intent on transforming the Prince George Wharf into a premier cruise destination in the Caribbean. This in the face of a continued challenge to get more tourists to spend more money in the Bahamas. The port's to be developed by 2022. And law enforcement's top brass locked in the first ever senior management conclave, a two-day meeting focused on fixing the problems with the police and defense forces, correctional services, customs, and immigration. Addressing the group's opening session at Island House this morning was National Security Minister Marvin Dames, a former Deputy Commissioner of Police.
We often speak about bringing about a high level of professionalism, and the way we do that, and we intend to do that, is through communication and organization and preparation. And that is what we will be all about over the next few days.
During the conclave, participants will hear from a diverse mix of professionals on everything from financial matters to human resource management to plans for 2019. According to the minister, it's also an opportunity to be transparent and to speak to the problems that exist.
2018 was not a bad year. We made some inroads, but I still believe, deep down, that there is a lot more that we can do, right, to make this country safer, to ensure that Bahamians and visitors alike can move about without having to concern themselves about becoming a victim to crime. All right? And so your contributions over the next 2 days will be extremely important to how we shape the future of national security in our nation.
A dinner and a movie is on Saturday's agenda. Meantime, quite a number of infrastructural improvements on tap for the Family Islands this year, starting with Grand Bahama. Parliament Secretary in the Ministry of Public Works, Iram Lewis, explains.
One of our flagship projects is the Swiss Point seawall. We had to make a strong decision during our first few months in office, and we are extremely pleased with the decision that we made. That seawall right now is about completed. We are now installing the railings on that wall, and as soon as that is done, we will plan the opening. And that will be something that we can display. And throughout the Bahamas, the bar has been raised. And once we keep it at that level, there will only be good things happening with respect to infrastructure development for the Bahamas. We also have the government complex down in 8 Mile Rock, which should be completed by the end of this year. And that will house all of the essential services on Grand Bahama, outside of the city of Freeport, for the government. We have the primary schools also down in the 8 Mile Rock area. That is going to be completed in time for the new school year. We have the Fishing Hole Road causeway that is also well underway. The courthouse just started this week, the Ghana Navarrete Justice Center. So right now we have quite a bit of capital works. The Freeport Post Office is also being scoped, and that will also come on stream this year.
As for funding for these projects, the ministry is in the process of preparing the 2019-2020 capital budget request to submit to the Ministry of Finance. But Director of Works Melanie Rhodes says there is a climate resilient coastal zone management project funded by the IDB.
Included in those funds are some seawall works for Grand Bahama, for Long Island, and also for Andros and New Providence at Junkanoo Beach. So we have a myriad of projects that we're going to be looking at for the new year throughout the country. Repaving roads, both in Family Islands and New Providence, replacing bridges, improving docks. We have 2 airports that are presently on, one has already been, the contract has already been issued. That's a new terminal building and improvements to the airside for the Berry Islands airport. And then I would say by the 3rd quarter of this year, you will see construction commence on the new terminal building and airside works for the Exuma International Airport, and the design for the North Eleuthera Airport will commence by the middle of this year.
Continued roadworks are also still on tap for New Providence and the Family Islands. Up next, a check on sports and weather.
This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.